In this episode of Lease TV, we interview Vicky Hammond of Coreland Companies regarding the ramifications to landlords, tenants, consumers, others relating to Proposition 15 that will be on the ballot in the upcoming election. Chris Marabella, Lease TV, and I'm here with Vicky Hammond from Coreland Companies out of Tustin, California. It's Wednesday, September 23rd. Thank you, Vicky, for being on Lease TV. It's great to have you. Vicky's going to talk about the upcoming Proposition 15 and how that's going to affect commercial real estate, small businesses in California if that was to pass. Now, we got our fingers crossed it doesn't pass, but we're going to talk about what happens if it did pass for some reason. So, Vicky, tell us a little bit about Coreland, what type of transactions you're involved with, real estate that you own, single tenant, multi-tenant, and what's your role there at Coreland. And you're in Tustin, right? Is that where you're located?
That's home base. Yes, that's the corporate office. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Thanks for this opportunity. And more importantly, thank you for giving voice to the issue because we're in the home stretch. This is extremely critical for the industry.
For sure.
It's been talked about for a few years and now it's present. My name is Vicky Hammond. I'm a principal with Coreland Companies. So we are a third-party real estate management and leasing team here in Southern California. The company's been around for 30 plus years, primarily doing exactly those two things, real estate management and leasing. We have honed in on our skills. We're like the in and out, we know what we do well and we keep on doing it. Combined between the two divisions of the company, we oversee about 10 million square feet of traditional retail centers across Southern California. It's a sizable portfolio to have access to really observe how industry issues affect our tenants, our property owners, the consumers. The two divisions of the company work for a variety of clients. We work for institutional clients spread out across the U.S. and internationally, as well as a lot of local commercial real estate owners. I oversee operations globally for our company. Specifically business development opportunities on the real estate management side.
Okay.
And we have teams spread out, all over from Ventura County and east and south, whichever direction you're going.
So, Vicky, I know that most, you deal with a lot of triple net leases, and this is a really big deal, this Proposition 15. Just to give contrast, in 1986, I believe they passed the Prop 13, right? It was right around 86. And
1978.
Was it that long? So it's been
Yes.
in effect for I think 42 years. So how is the property tax currently handled in California? And if this passes, how will that affect it? It sounds like properties will get reassessed every 3 years. So what is the mechanics of that? How is that going to work? How is it currently set up? And what would trigger what triggers a reassessment now versus later?
Of course. You're absolutely right. Since 1978, Prop 13 has been in place to protect both residences and commercial properties from the dynamics that make California so expensive to live in and so wonderful. Our property values are continuously increasing. We are a hot market to live in and to work in. And as a result, this was put in place in 78 to protect those who live here, to establish some consistency so that we could afford our homes and we could afford our properties. For years, it's been discussed about splitting it up. About splitting up the property tax law on the residential side versus the commercial side.
Remember 1978? California's home prices were soaring. Some homeowners, led by this guy, were mad as hell about their ever-increasing property taxes. So voters passed Prop 13, and Californians have been busy voting on property taxes ever since. Over the last 4 decades, Californians have passed more than 20 ballot measures adding new rules for how homes and other properties are taxed. 2020 is no different, but Prop 15, also known as split roll, is the big one. If it passes, it will be the biggest change to California's tax system in a generation. Let me explain.
Hi, I'm Ben Christopher. I'm a political reporter with Cal Matters, and I'm going to explain Prop 15 in a minute.
Properties used to be taxed based on the current home price. If a house's value doubled, so did the taxes. Then voters put a stop to that. Under Prop 13, properties are taxed based on their original purchase price. The longer you stay in your home, the larger the tax break. That also applies to commercial properties, which leads us to Prop 15. Prop 15 splits homes from commercial properties, putting them on different tax rolls, hence split roll. If it passes, nothing changes for homeowners, but lots of commercial landlords would be stripped of their Prop 13 protections and will probably have to start paying a lot more. Not so for small businesses and farms. They're exempt. Supporters say this is a great way to provide more funding to cash-strapped schools and local governments, and that large corporations will pay the most. Opponents say this would be one of the largest tax increases ever, and they warn that landlords will pass the higher costs on to their tenants, which might be small businesses. So, vote yes if you want commercial properties to be taxed based on today's mostly higher market prices. Vote no if you want to keep things the way they are. For more on the 2020 election and everything else about California's politics, go to calmatters.org.
And now it's here. Our industry, commercial real estate, and multiple industries have fought this for a number of years, to try to keep it from ever reaching the ballot. But now we're here. It has reached the ballot as Proposition 15. And if you don't mind, I want to make sure that I share the full name of it, because this is the part that scares me the most. It's Prop 15, tax on commercial and industrial properties for education and local government funding initiatives. That's troubling to me because, like many titles for propositions, you have to dig deeper to understand how this affects us. And a lot of voters don't dig in that deep. So how does this affect commercial real estate? Yes. Before, property taxes were based on value upon a sale, upon acquisition.
On a sale. So the sale had to happen before it got reassessed. Okay.
Yep. So just like your house, the property tax is set when you purchase the house at current market value, at 1% of current market value, and that was it.
Okay.
And then it limited any increase to 2% for every year thereafter. So at least you own your house, you know how much you're going to pay taxes on the house, and every year that tax bill, as difficult as it is, comes in, but there's no surprises. Passing of Prop 15 would institute surprises for every commercial property owner. And I like how you brought up the limit. It would basically require a reassessment every 1 to 3 years. So right there's a bunch of surprises. You don't know when it's going to be.
Sure. That's very ambiguous. Yes.
Exactly. You have no idea when the surprise is going to come.
So let me ask you this, Vicky. Let me ask you this. The way it's set up right now, you said there's a ceiling, right? It can only go up, what did you say, 2%?
Yes.
Is that annually? Annually? So my house, every year they could reassess it as it stands up 2%. So if this were to pass, does that 2% go away? Is that the deal? It can go up higher than the 2%?
Yeah, that's the deal.
Okay.
Every year, every 1 to 3 years, based on when the assessors can get out to your property, it would go up per current market value. And like I said, we hit big booms here in California. And so that number will be very difficult to plan for, budget. And that's where this issue comes to play for commercial properties.
Yeah, for sure.
So right now it would affect retail, office, industrial, and the commercial components of multifamily. So any of the above. It says that there is a limitation, that it won't affect property owners whose property is valued at $3 million or less. However, that is actually $3 million or less as the entire portfolio. So when you talk about net lease assets, some of the owners you work with could own a property that is valued less than $3 million, but they're going to assess it as a complete portfolio of yours.
Oh,
so
wow.
If you have, with the same entity, the same partnership group, if you own 4 different Del Tacos
in California, okay.
In California, if you own 4 different Del Tacos in California,
So let's say you own each Del Taco $2 million, so $8 million, and then that would be over the $3 million threshold. You're saying so a portfolio. Yes. A portfolio, they're going to look at everything if this thing passes. That's the verbiage. If you're an owner,
that's the verbiage. Yes, if you're an owner. So
that's totally unfair. That's really unfair.
That stipulation, they are advocating that this protects small business, but in reality, again, it dwindles down the numbers of those people it actually protects.
So Vicky, does this proposition affect homes, like homes in Beverly Hills, La Jolla, Rancho Santa Fe, different areas, Riverside, wherever? Does it affect residential homeowners? Just so people understand.
Of course, it's a very good question. At this time, it does not. This proposition is solely for commercial properties. However,
commercial.
The industry has been very well aware.
What is that commercial definition? Is that single tenant retail, multi-tenant strip center, apartments, industrial? Would all those uses be affected, even apartments?
No, the one change that they have made over the last 6 months is that they have excluded multifamily.
Okay.
At one point, the talk was that it was to be included. But it is not. It is retail, office, industrial, and the commercial components of a mixed-use development. So your property taxes on an apartment building with retail at its base, it would be taxed separately. It's important to realize.
What I don't understand is, the Amazons of the world have really taken advantage of brick and mortar retail. Now you add another layer, it's like they lay this on brick and mortar retail. It's really unfair. What about Amazon? Why aren't they, technically they're not brick and mortar, but maybe there should be a tax on them. So it's kind of an equal playing field instead of just always putting the burden on brick and mortar commercial real estate. I think that's really unfair because right now, the Amazon is the one doing the best. They ought to go after Amazon for some of these taxes. Would you agree?
Well, you know what? The sad part about it is that this, if passed, protects no one because it's going to hit industrial properties, which is going to hit the Amazon warehouses.
I got you.
But I like your point because everybody, when they think of tax hikes, it's common language to say, let's hit the wealthiest.
Yeah.
Okay, property owners, they must be the wealthiest. Let me tell you that our commercial properties, those properties that make up our neighborhoods, are owned by a variety of different people. They're owned by families. They're owned by single investors. They're owned by all types of businessmen and women that this is their everyday life. And so it is not that, that ideal that it's only hitting a billionaire on the mountaintop.
No, I mean, Vicky, when we're dealing with commercial real estate people, I mean, I'm constantly talking with owners, right? And they're people from all around the world that have come here that worked really hard, saved up their money, and they invested their money in commercial real estate. And they probably sacrificed a long time to get there. So it's not, these aren't the JP Morgans of the world. These are normal people that saved their money and now they own real estate. So, and furthermore, like in your article, that's in your articles in Western Real Estate Business, that's where I got you from. And in the August issue, you mentioned this really affects small businesses. right? This is going to affect, because if you have a triple net lease, the tenant pays for the property tax. So really, the landlord isn't going to be almost, I think the tenant's going to be more affected, these small businesses, right? And who?
Yes, absolutely.
The property tax that
When
the
these small
governor's trying
businesses get
to
nailed on the property
pass,
taxes,
I think that would close a lot of business. I mean, for me, it's not just the property tax. There's way too many certifications that we have to go through, that we have to pay. So any other expense at this time for me would put me out of business. I'm already thinking about moving out of the state, if not out of the state.
Yes, absolutely.
Now
when these small businesses get nailed on the property taxes, what are they going to do? They're going to raise the prices. So initially, the consumer is going to get nailed at the end of the day with inflation. It's just going to be passed on to the consumer. Would you agree with that?
Yes. It hits on multiple levels. The property tax bill goes straight to the tenant. The tenants right now are struggling. You know, it's been a really difficult year. They don't need another surprise. The tenant has to pass it along to its consumers. So I myself, when I go and get to my local sandwich shop and I want to know why my sandwich now costs $12, that's the reason why.
Or I don't have a sandwich shop, right? Or I don't have a sandwich shop and I don't have this or that because they all went out of business. I mean, even with the COVID, I've noticed lately, I went to Costco and normally my bill's like $300 or $400 for like paper towels and toilet paper and essential things. I went just a couple days back, I spent $500. So I'm already seeing inflation. And I tried to buy some work boots on Sears website. They're gone. You can't get them anymore. I wanted to go buy a suit. Brooks Brothers is out of business. So how are we going to buy stuff? Now, you know, you can't have it both ways. If you want some good shops where you can shop in, then you can't really tax them out of business. And that's kind of the direction we're going. I think you won't have, you know, the Brooks Brothers, I think they got bought out by Simon. That's what I heard. And then J.C. Penney was in trouble, and I think they got bought out by Simon, from what I remember. So all these retailers, you're not going to have options to shop anywhere, and your only option is going to be Amazon. And we found in March and April, you know, I don't know if I want to just rely on Amazon for all my stuff. I want to be able to go into a store and buy stuff when I want to go there. Whether that be a pharmacy or if I want to buy work boots or I want to buy whatever it is, I want some options. And this is just one other layer that's going to screw it up for consumers, in my own opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. And the way I look at our neighborhood centers, they are the fabric of our community. Yeah. Right? They are where we eat, where we see each other, where we want to go comfortably to the grocery store, where we want to shop or even pick up. And the challenge is you're going to put those tenants in a difficult position. You're going to put the owners in a difficult position because when they look at their operating costs for the coming years and they think that they have to plan for this expected tax increase, that they have to plan for potential vacancy, as an investment of theirs, that shopping center, do you think that owner is going to decide to upgrade the look, give it a new paint job, freshen up the outdoor seating in an office space? Do you think they're going to rehab the office space, improve the parking lot? Well, probably not, because this is a surprise. It's going to be an annual. You know, at best, it's going to be a 3-year surprise. It could be an annual, biannual surprise that is going to keep people, make people more conservative.
It's going to be a crowded out effect, right? In other words, taxes are going to crowd out reserves for the maintenance. It's kind of like the U.S. debt. You know, whenever you start doing that, where you're issuing debt, the debt to GNP is really high now. If interest rates start to go up, that's going to take away from Medicare and all this other stuff. We're just going to be paying a bunch of debt, and that's something else we got to get under control at some point. But I see your point. If you're a landlord and you figure, you know what, I got to allocate money now for these property taxes. I was thinking about re-asphalting the parking lot. I better put that off. Or we were going to do something with the facade. You know what, we better put that off. We got to pay these property taxes. So yeah, that's a big issue for sure for a landlord.
Yeah. It will affect the value of all of our properties because of the market uncertainty. There's no doubt.
So what do we do? How do we get politically involved, as landlords, as real estate agents, lawyers, whatever, however you're involved in commercial real estate principals? What do we do? I think you mentioned a website. And should we send a letter to our senators here in California? How do we, and we should vote no, right, on Proposition 15 when we get the ballot, correct?
Yes. No.
Okay.
And at this point, what I really advocate for people to do is to talk,
Right.
use your voice within the industry
Like
and
we're
also
doing right
in your,
here. Just get the word out,
Right.
right? Just get the word
Right.
out.
and especially in your community, because all of us in the industry understand when we read the type of language that's involved in this, we get it. But everyday citizens or everyday community members don't. And so I actually think it's even more important, grab some language from a website, and as you recommended, I would start on noonprop15.org.
Okay.
They actually have a lot of tools.
So we're going to put that in the description section under this video and spell that out very clearly so people can access that. What is
Sure.
the actual spelling of that website?
It's noonprop15.org.
And what's on that
No.
website? Is there like a mass mailer to senators, or what it's on that website? Information about it?
Number one, it's information, and it's very simple, straightforward information. So it'll help your own language as you share it. Number two, they have sample letters you can send to the editor of a local newspaper. They have social media posts, and which I completely advocate as being very effective in these final, I don't know what the countdown is, we're somewhere around 40 days. I would use those tools. To me, a lot of voters are going to walk in and see the word community and see the word schools. And right now, it is such a sensitive time with both of those. I know, I'm a mom. It is a very sensitive time, but yeah,
we all have our kids
exactly.
in school. I do like education,
We do.
but I don't think that the whipping boy should just be, landlords. It's not fair, and it's not, they're, like I said, why whip on something that's already been whipped by the Amazons of the world? It should be a little more equitable in the economy. Retail, certain retail malls have really taken it. So why put the burden on street retail? It should be more fair if you're going to do it. But I do think it's a good, education. Yes, we're all for education, but I don't think it's fair just to put it on landlords and say that, that's the way it should be. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly the point. And on the educational front and the community front, the language of this proposition is not good. There will be no accountability, and it's years out from hitting our schools. So it is not going to be a savior to our problems right now. It doesn't enforce how the money is used. And again, when you drill down, when you talk about property owner to tenant, tenant to consumer, for every fantastic teacher we have in our neighborhoods, that individual is married to or has a son or daughter or a mother or father who has a local business. So it's all about how it affects our families, and we want a safe neighborhood with safe shopping centers, with local small businesses that thrive. And if you support that, then share and tell people no on Prop 15.
For sure, no on Prop 15, and I totally agree with you. I mean, for me, being involved, it's what you value. You know, as Americans, do we value not having a place to come together, to eat dinner together with our families, to just get out of our homes, or do we want to just stay in our homes and be unsocial, creatures? I think, Americans, it's always been, we kind of come together, go to dinner, go shopping, and it's really what you value. And the problem is that a lot of our values are deteriorating, and there's not a lot of traditions anymore. The traditions are going away, the family's going away, shopping's going away as we know it. I'm a little depressed because I'm not going to be able to buy suits anymore. The Brooks Brothers are going away. I don't know, it's hard to buy a suit. I think the only place you can get a suit now is Nordstrom's. So, it's what we value. If we don't value, shopping, you'll end up with no options, and you can just sit in your house and, do nothing. Anyway, so if anybody has any questions on Proposition 15, would you mind if they reached out to you? Because, like me, I didn't really know all the specifics of it. I've heard about it. My brother and I talked about it because we own real estate, we own apartments, and we're like, this is going to affect us. We own a shopping center in Ohio. It's pretty far away from here, but we were always a little concerned about it. And I didn't really know the inner workings till I read your article, kind of like you said. So we need to really spread the word. People really don't understand the specifics of it, and the ambiguity, like you said, that if somebody owns 4 Del Tacos at $2 million each, that's $8 million, and that's over the $3 million threshold. So that could possibly throw that owner into a reassessment situation without the ceiling, you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So how can somebody call you if they have any questions?
Anybody can. I am happy to discuss it with anybody who's interested. Our website, www.coreland, CORELAND.com. All my contact information is there. I love to talk about it. I am definitely not the most knowledgeable. There are some people who have been fighting for this and really on the front lines for a number of years. Those are people associated to organizations like the California Business Properties Association, ICSC, many new groups. I welcome you to look at all the resources. They've done a really good job on simplifying a complex issue. And so look out there, because they'll give you the words to write, to post on your Twitter feed and start advocating. So you know how people are. They need to hear the same thing over and over again. So just add it to the bottom of your emails. No on Prop 15.
Is ICSC lobbying against this? I mean, have you heard anything from ICSC? Because I know you're involved with ICSC, right? You're a big advocate for ICSC. Are they doing any, politicking on this subject or this proposition?
Yeah. They've always had a government advocacy group, and they have been highly involved with this issue for a number of years and partnered with the CBPA. Rex Heim, as we all know in the industry, has been a major voice. He is also extremely accessible for questions. Again, go to the cbpa.org website, might be .com. He's a great individual. So for many years, this has been on the table, and the fundraising has been fast and furious for the last year. So they're hoping that they're getting the message out. They have a number of groups supporting the effort to not pass Prop 15.
That's that's awesome. The other thing that we really need to oppose is that they want to take the 1031 exchange away. I heard Biden wants to take the 1031 exchange away, and that would really, again, it would kind of plug up the plumbing of net lease. 90% of the deals we do are 1031 exchanges. The sad thing, if this thing did pass, I think right now a lot of landlords are probably trying to sell their buildings and head east and get out of California. It's not going to benefit California in any way. Everybody's going to take all their money and they're going to go to all these different states where this isn't, where property taxes are fair. So it's going to be basically an exportation of money out of the state. So as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm going to be on the show, The Answer, Andrea K. Show, 1170 AM and FM 96.1 down here in San Diego, Vicky. And I'll be talking with Andrea. I mean, now that you explained it to me, I'm going to try to get the word out with Andrea K. Andrea K. Likes to talk about these kind of subjects. So I talked to her today and she's like, come on the show and we'll talk about it. So I'm trying to already get the word out for you. And I really appreciate you being on Lease TV. And we'll see what maybe after, the election, let's get back together on Lease TV and talk about what happened and compare notes. But thank you again for being on Lease TV, Vicky. And this is Chris Marabella. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.